Fighting talk back again, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Stevie Ray ahead of his bout against Anthony Pettis next Friday on week 5 of the PFL 2022 season. Stevie, thanks very much for some time here tonight. I mean, well, it was a long time out, and now you're looking at 2 fights in the space of 2 months. How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been tough going, to be honest. Just the been training fight camp since January 3rd. So yeah, I kind of never really thought about how tough it would be, just constant fight camp and dieting and everything else in life. But yeah, it's been tough. I mean, that's the sacrifice that obviously we're all prepared, that we've all been prepared to do for the chasing the $1 million. I mean, it's going to come with some adversities and whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's got its positives, the negatives. Try and obviously look at the positives rather than the negatives. But as far as next week, I'm feeling good. I'm pretty much. I was ready to fight a month ago, or maybe even longer. So yeah, ready to go, man.
Well, if we do rewind the clock a little bit, I suppose 2020, your retirement, if you like, was announced. Of course, that then changed coming into this year. Can you sort of tell us a bit of the reason behind coming out of retirement and also why you chose PFL?
Well, I never actually really ever wanted to retire, really. I mean, it was a wee bit of an emotional decision. I mean, there was a wee bit of confusion with the UFC. I had just won the biggest fight in my career, possibly. I went over Michael Johnson in Singapore in 2019. I then signed a new 4-fight contract after that fight with the UFC. And then I was scheduled to fight Mark Diakese. I had to pull out with a knee injury, first time pulling out a fight in my career. And yeah, then I just heard from my manager that the UFC was kind of maybe they had heard from the doctor or something. I mean, I didn't want to bad kind of mouth the UFC because it is what it is. They're a business at the end of the day. Basically, the UFC doctor, I think it's Jeff Davidson, he didn't see a quick solution or a quick term fix to what was wrong with my knee. And it wasn't like it wasn't a case of just getting a surgery and then I'd be fine. Because it was like arthritis problems and there were speaks of maybe getting an osteotomy surgery. And yeah, just like wear and tear of the knee and so on. But so eventually, after talks here and there, we then decided to go as a free agent rather than the UFC cutting me, if you like. I went as a free agent, thinking about signing elsewhere. It was probably the worst time to do it because it was COVID, and there's not going to be other promotions in a rush to sign new people when they didn't even know what's going on with the world. So then emotionally, I was like, you know what, my knees weren't great at the time. I was like, you know what, kind of fuck the sport. Like, I'm done. I was kind of pissed off a bit and a wee bit hurt. I was depressed, the fact that the UFC had just let me go. It was like my career was over. And then a wee while later, I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do with my life now? And I'm like, you know what, I'm not even ready to retire. I've still got the buzz for this. It was an emotional decision. I then started doing a lot of yoga. I done my yoga qualification as well, so I'm a qualified yoga teacher as well, which has helped me understand it more, rather than teaching, like just understand as a training aspect. And yeah, basically, I know that's a long answer, but my knees are better. My knees are fixed. I just proved. I fought Alexander Martinez. He went for my knees, which I'm expected. He threw some stomp kicks and stuff. Hurt my good knee a wee bit, actually. But just a quick injury that was a wee bit sore, iced it up, and then it was fine. But the bad knee was actually good.
Prior to that as well, you had that grappling match. How much was that, I guess, to test your knees out, test everything, see how that was going?
To be honest, it was more just to stay active, like, for motivation for training and just to do something. And I started thinking maybe because I'm an athlete. I've done it for the past 12, 13 years. It's all I've done. It's all I know. So to go for that, to just complete coaching, because I've got my own gym as well. I have got like a wee, a side business to fall back on. I've been building that up so that I don't just retire and end up doing nothing. But yeah, just competing and grappling seems something that I would maybe do after fighting. It kept me busy. I got 2 big wins in grappling, Paddy Finlett and Craig Ewers. They're both BJJ black belts. And yeah, I got 2 wins over them, and then obviously, then I fought Martinez, and fight was all right. I made some mistakes and stuff. I feel like it's a fight I could have won and should have won, but it is what it is.
And I mean, look, it was a very, very close fight. Having that layoff that you had and going into that fight, some fighters believe in ring rust, some don't. How did you feel going into there? And I guess at the end of the 15 minutes, how did you feel?
To be honest, ring rust. I was one of the guys that believed that. I don't know if I believe it or not yet, because there was, it did feel a bit weird. I'm like, oh, this is what this feels like again. Like it's almost like you're in a video game or something. It's like it's such a surreal moment that sometimes you forget being in the cage. There's the crowd. It's a bit different to just sparring because the tension and stuff. But I feel like the time off, I definitely made some mistakes. I wasn't. I never stuck to the game plan 100%. I threw some kicks just in the heat of the moment, maybe a bit of nerves. I threw like a hook kick, a side kick. I gave up my back. That lost me the first round. Then when I dropped him in the second round, I should have maybe stayed up on my feet and tried to finish him. I've kind of jumped down and let him wrestle, recover, and then chasing leg locks too much. I was trying to submit him off my back. That was maybe a little bit of just trying to be exciting, rather than thinking of winning a fight, just the whole format, just try and win, submit. But there is part of that maybe I should have, went for a sweep rather than continued with the leg lock or got back to my feet. So in terms of ring rust, I would say that, maybe a little bit. But this camp, I feel like I've went and fixed the shit that I've done wrong.
You just touched on it then. It was exactly what I was about to ask you about. And that's, of course, the format of PFL. For fans who maybe aren't familiar with it, it's different to what you'd see in the likes of your UFC, the Bellator. It's more of a league, like football, if you like. I'll blast the scores up on the screen now so fans can see how the scoring works. But how much does that play on your mind mid-fight? Are you thinking about, right, I'm trying to get these 6 points, and then the first round, right, I need these 5 points? Or is it one of these where you just got to sort of go with the flow and go where the fight takes it?
To be honest, I think it's more on your subconscious mind. So I would say it's in the mind somewhere, but definitely when I was fighting, I wasn't thinking like, I need to finish him for the points. Like exactly, because I'm thinking like I need to stay the way I punch it. You're thinking of more important stuff like, oh, I need to watch the punch, the kick, the takedown. So you're thinking of that, but definitely I would say subconsciously you are, a wee bit more wanting to get to do stuff. Because I find it better though, to be honest. I like it. I like the style. I mean, I lost the first fight, but I've still got a chance to go out there and win the whole thing. If depending on how the fights go on Friday, because they're all fighting a week before me, which is a wee bit, different for me as well. Me and Pettis are a week later, so I'm going to know exactly how many points I need to make it through. So it's a wee bit different. Usually everybody would be the same night. But yeah, I wonder how that's going to, play on my mind. If, for example, if I know I need 6 or 5 points to go through it, I know I need to stop Pettis either in the first or the second round. Which obviously is what I'm going to try and do anyway. Like I want to ideally finish him in the first 10 seconds if I can. But, you know, that being on my mind, knowing that I need it to get in the tournament, we'll see. But I'm looking forward to watching the last fight of the before the playoffs on this Friday.
I mean, if we look at your league, if you like, as it is, it's an absolute shark tank. It's a murderer's row. Yourself, Pettis, Clay Collard, Jeremy Stevens, of course, Miles Price as well. What do you make of the standard in that division?
Oh, the standard of the fighters is right up there. I mean, look at Anthony Pettis, for example. You know, people hear I'm fighting Anthony Pettis, they think it's such, obviously, probably writing me off, even all my friends, like, he's fighting Anthony Pettis, he's been a UFC champion. But really, the really, like, real MMA fans, the ones that know what they're talking about, all know that's not even the hardest fight. You know, well, it might be, you know, depending on what Pettis shows up. But what I mean is, two guys just beat him last year that are also in the tournament. Haush Manfia and Clay Collard both beat him. So it just shows you the level, you know, of these other guys as well. They've already beat Pettis. Then you've got guys like Jeremy Stevens, who's obviously a big name. You know, there was Don Madge, and all these other names. So yeah, I would say the standard of the fighters is really good, and also the standard of the production. I was actually really impressed with how professional PFL was. It just felt like being in the UFC, to be honest. Like, you know, there was nothing different. Like, it was so professional. You know, same with the UFC, top of the top, both of them, doing everything right. And yeah, it just felt good to be back where I feel I belong. You know, back where I deserve.
If we do look at this fight then next Friday, Anthony Showtime Pettis, I mean, as you say there, fans of the sport know the name straight away. You've been around the sport long enough. You've fought the big names enough now that I don't imagine that a name affects you as such. But what are you expecting from this fight from Pettis?
So I'm expecting obviously a good fight. I'd imagine he's not taking it lightly. You know, his first fight, you know, he came out, he submitted Miles Price in the first round. He showed that he's dangerous. I mean, I already know he's dangerous on the ground as well. You know, I'm not just like a casual fan that thinks he's like good at the flashy stuff. You know, I've done my study, and I already knew who he was anyway. I know he's submitted Charles Oliveira. He's submitted Gilbert Melendez, high level black belts. So he's dangerous on the ground. You know, he's dangerous on the feet. He's obviously better at set. You know, he's got strengths, he's got weaknesses, the same as any guy really. But I'm expecting a good fight. I'd imagine he's going to be wanting to strike. He doesn't really look to go to the ground. But that being said, I've prepared for a takedown just in case, because when I land my hands on him, whether it's the left hand or the right hand, like Alexander Martinez felt, put him on the canvas. Once that left hand hits, usually they're on the floor. So, but I'm just expecting a good fight. I mean, Pettis is one of the best out there. He's going to come and bring it, and so am I.
I know as well, obviously I was talking to your coach, James Doolan, and you just said there yourself as well, I ironed out them little creases in between the Martinez fight to this fight. How important is it for you to have the likes of James Doolan in your corner? For me, arguably one of the best coaches in the UK.
Yeah, I mean, James has been there since I fought Dale Hardiman. You know, I was at another club before that, just a smaller club, and then I eventually went to, you know, James, and he's been there since pretty much the rise of my career, like the start of where it got serious. You know, I became Bama champion and 2-time Cage Warriors champion with James, then to the UFC. A 7-4 record in the UFC, 11 fights, with the last one, again, arguably being the biggest. To then, yeah, we upset. I feel the last fight, a fight I could have and should have won, but yeah, it's important. I mean, I even knew myself what I'd done wrong. you know, like I said, chasing submissions rather than trying to get on top. And that, you know, maybe it's just because the time off, you know, I was playing around with jiu-jitsu a bit, maybe playing off my back. You know, I started playing a wee bit of like rubber guard kind of stuff, and getting some success with that. So yeah, just back to like fixing some of the stuff, you know, try and be on top rather than being on the bottom if it's on the ground, because then at least you're winning if a submission doesn't happen. For the ground and pound and whatever. And then yeah, my takedown defense, I wasn't really prepared as much for the explosiveness of Martinez. He was quite explosive. In the takedowns and the scrambles, he was really good. So I just pretty much sharpened all the wee parts up and continued to train. And yeah, I feel like a lot of the stuff I worked the first camp that I maybe never got a chance to work, we've continued that, and we've seen the success in the second camp, you know, of all the stuff we've done in the first camp sort of thing. So yeah, I mean, James is, don't know how long it crashed for there, but yeah, James is the best of the best, so I'm glad to have him in my corner, and obviously as a coach.
Look, we've spoke about that Martinez bout a couple of times, and I think immediately on Twitter after, it was very clear sort of those who knew the scoring criteria, those who didn't. And for me, I had that a very, very close fight, as did I know the likes of Sean Sheen over at Sevilla. For you, like I say, you've been in the sport a long time now. There's been a lot of talk recently about judging, scoring criteria, that sort of thing. It's sort of a two-part question. The conversation of open scoring has been thrown out there. Can I get your thoughts on that? And as well, as an athlete, do you consciously look at the scoring criteria and know sort of off the back, or like the back of your hand, or is it not something you focus on because you're always looking for that finish?
To be honest, I feel like, yeah, it is on your mind, obviously. I mean, there's some things that it's quite hard. I mean, if that was boxing, if that was a boxing fight, or the way boxing score it, Martinez couldn't have won. That it's impossible, because a 10-9 round, even if you gave him a 10-9 round in the first round and a 10-9 in the third round, I dropped him in the second round. In boxing, that's got to be a 10-8 round. Because, you know, with the knockdown rule. But again, it's not a boxing fight. I'm not saying I won the fight or that the decision was wrong. You know, I during the fight and after it, I thought that I wouldn't, you know, that he would be the winner. I knew I kind of fucked it, if you like, due to the scoring. But that being said, he never done anything that like even they were showing like highlights.
Sorry,
as much as I like Martinez, I was saying they couldn't even really show any highlights of the fight on his aspect, because there was nothing really much that happened. I mean, the reason he won the fight is because he controlled me. You know, with the top control in the first round and the top control in the third round. I mean, there wasn't very much happening, like, you know, where he beat me up a lot, or, you know, I was in bad positions where he nearly submitted me. It was the other way around, where, you know, I was had some success at leg locks, and I can't remember if there was anything else. But yeah, and then obviously I dropped him with a big left hand. But the better man won on the night. You know, I made some mistakes, and I feel like this time around I'm going to, you know, people are going to see the difference.
On open scoring, do you think that's something that should be introduced, where you guys in between rounds could essentially look up at a screen and see how the judges are scoring the bout?
Yeah, why not? Because then I suppose it's a wee bit like PFL style as well. Because then, you know, if you need a finish, you know, like, right, okay. Because you might think you're winning and then coast it. You know, if you think you're winning a fight and then you just try and win the round, you know, and play it safe, if you like, but actually you weren't winning, you know, it'd be quite interesting, you know, knowing that you're going to lose unless you try and get a finish. So yeah, I think that'd be maybe a good thing, aye. Yeah.
Finally then, Stevie, just before you go, for fans who are maybe new to the PFL, maybe even new to yourself, what can they expect from a Stevie Ray performance, and can I get a prediction off you for next Friday night?
So as much respect as, you know, I give Anthony Pettis, and, you know, he's a big name and he's a good fighter, I predict I'm going to finish him within 2 rounds. first or second round stoppage. Again, either by strikes or a submission. I'm just going to come after him and try and stop him. I'm going to have a better understanding of, like I said, how much points I need to make it, because at the end of the day, I'm wanting to make the playoffs. So this Friday, all the other guys are fighting. I'm going to be watching. I'm going to know exactly how many points I need, and then next Friday, I'll be coming to make that happen. They're going to see an improved and the more realistic version of me, and I'm going to stop the one-time UFC champion, Anthony Pettis, and it's going to be a big one for me.
Perfect. Stevie, thank you very, very much for your time, mate.
Thank you, buddy.